When tech billionaire Richard Sterling's $300,000 McLaren broke down, he had it towed to Davidson's auto shop. But the moment he saw Marcus Johnson, a young black mechanic, his car, he stopped. He told, "I need someone qualified," Sterling said dismissively. "Someone who knows what they're doing." What Sterling didn't know was that he was talking to the one person who could save his career and his life. The morning sun cast long shadows across Davidson's auto shop in downtown Atlanta as Marcus Johnson arrived for what he thought would be another routine day. At 28, Marcus had been working on cars since he was 14, learning the trade from his grandfather, who had run his own shop in the heart of the city. But Marcus's expertise went far beyond what most people assumed when they saw a young black man in coverall. Marcus held dual degrees in mechanical engineering and computer science from Georgia Tech, with specialized training in European luxury vehicle systems. He spoke 4 languages fluently, a skill that had proven invaluable when dealing with technical manuals and diagnostic software from German, Italian, and British manufacturers. His certifications included advanced training from McLaren, Ferrari, Lamborghini, and Porsche, making him one of the most qualified technicians in the Southeast. But none of that mattered to customers who took one look at him and saw only what their prejudices allowed them to see. Davidson's auto shop had built a reputation as the premier destination for luxury car service in Atlanta. The shop's clientele included celebrities, athletes, and business executives who demanded the highest level of expertise for their expensive machine. Marcus was the reason the shop could make such promises, though few customers ever realized it. Tom Davidson, the shop's owner, was a 60-year-old white man who had inherited the business from his father. When he first hired Marcus 5 years ago, Tom had been skeptical about letting such a young technician work on 6-figure vehicles. But Marcus had quickly proven himself to be the most talented mechanic Tom had ever seen. Now Tom trusted Marcus with the shop's most challenging and valuable repairs. That Tuesday morning started like any other. Marcus was reviewing the day's schedule when the roar of a diesel tow truck announced the arrival of something special. Through the shop's large windows, Marcus could see a stunning McLaren 720S being carefully unloaded from the flatbed. The car's carbon fiber body gleamed in the morning light, its aggressive lines speaking to the incredible engineering that lay beneath. Marcus felt the familiar thrill of anticipation. McLarens were among his favorite cars to work on. Complex, sophisticated machines that demanded both technical knowledge and intuitive understanding. The 720S was powered by a twin-turbocharged V8 engine that produced over 700 horsepower, connected to advanced electronic systems that controlled everything from the car's aerodynamics to its suspension geometry. As the tow truck driver positioned the McLaren in the shop's main bay, a black Mercedes S-Class pulled into the customer parking area. Marcus watched as a man in an expensive suit stepped out, his movements sharp and impatient. This had to be Richard Sterling, the car's owner. Marcus had heard of Sterling, a tech billionaire who had made his fortune developing data analytics software for Fortune. Sterling's company, Next Gen Analytics, was valued at over $2 billion, and Sterling himself was known for his demanding personality and perfectionist tendencies. He was exactly the type of customer who expected flawless service and had no patience for anything less. Marcus grabbed his tablet and diagnostic equipment, ready to begin the initial assessment. As he approached the McLaren, Sterling intercepted him. "Excuse me," Sterling said, his voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to being obeyed. "I need to speak with whoever's in charge here." "I'm Marcus Johnson," Marcus replied politely. "I'll be handling the diagnosis and repair of your vehicle. Could you tell me what symptoms you've been experiencing?" Sterling looked Marcus up and down, taking in his work clothes and youthful appearance. His expression shifted from neutral to skeptical. "How old are you?" The question caught Marcus off guard. "I'm 28, sir." 28, Sterling repeated, as if the number confirmed his worst suspicions. "And how long have you been working on McLaren specifically?" "I've been certified by McLaren for 3 years," Marcus answered. "I've completed their advanced training programs and—" "Look," Sterling interrupted, "this car is worth more than most people's houses. I need someone qualified, someone who knows what they're doing." The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. He'd heard variations of this conversation countless times, but it never got easier. "Mr. Sterling, I assure you that I'm fully qualified to—" "Where's the owner?" Sterling demanded. "I want to speak with someone in charge." Marcus felt his jaw tighten, but he maintained his professional composure. "I'll get Mr. Davidson for you." As Marcus walked toward Tom's office, he could feel Sterling's eyes following him. The billionaire's assumption was clear. A young black mechanic couldn't possibly have the expertise to work on such an expensive machine. It was a prejudice Marcus had encountered throughout his career, from customers who requested the real mechanic to supervisors who questioned his recommendations until proven right. Tom Davidson emerged from his office, wiping his hands on a shop rag. At 6 feet tall, with gray hair and weathered features, Tom looked exactly like what most people expected from a shop owner. His appearance commanded instant respect in ways that Marcus's expertise never seemed to. "Mr. Sterling," Tom said, extending his hand. "Tom Davidson, I understand you're having some issues with your McLaren." "Finally," Sterling said, visibly relieved. "Yes. The car started making strange noises yesterday, and this morning it went into some kind of emergency mode. I need someone who really knows these cars to take a look." Tom nodded understandingly. "I completely understand your concern. These are sophisticated machines that require specialized knowledge." He gestured toward Marcus. "That's why Marcus here will be handling your repair. He's our McLaren specialist." Sterling's face darkened. "I thought I made myself clear. I want someone with experience, someone who knows what they're doing." "Mr. Sterling," Tom said patiently, "Marcus has more McLaren training and certification than anyone else in this city. He's worked on hundreds of these cars, including several 7. You won't find anyone more qualified." "I find that hard to believe," Sterling replied coldly. "Don't you have someone more senior?" The word senior hung in the air, but everyone understood what Sterling really meant. Marcus felt the familiar sting of discrimination, the weight of having to prove himself again and again despite his qualifications. Tom's expression hardened slightly. "Sterling, I've been running this shop for 20 years, and I'm telling you that Marcus is the best technician I've ever seen. If you want your car fixed properly, he's your only option." Sterling looked between Tom and Marcus, clearly frustrated. "Fine," he said finally, "but I want a detailed explanation of everything you find. And if there's any damage at all, I'm holding you personally responsible." Marcus nodded professionally. "Of course, Mr. Sterling. I'll document everything and keep you informed throughout the process." As Sterling stalked back to his Mercedes to make phone calls, Tom placed a supportive hand on Marcus's shoulder. "Don't let him get to you, son. Just do what you do best." Marcus appreciated Tom's support, but the damage was already done. Another customer had looked at him and seen only limitations, only assumptions based on his appearance. It was a reminder that no matter how many degrees he earned or certifications he acquired, some people would never see past the color of his skin. But Marcus had learned long ago that the best response to prejudice was excellence. He would diagnose Sterling's McLaren with the same thoroughness and expertise he brought to every job, not to prove himself to Sterling but because it was the right thing to do. Marcus connected his diagnostic computer to the McLaren's OBD port and began the systematic process of interrogating the car's multiple computer systems. The 720S contained dozens of interconnected modules that controlled everything from engine management to active aerodynamics. A problem in one system could cascade through others, creating complex diagnostic challenges that required both technical knowledge and creative problem-solving. Within minutes, Marcus had identified several fault codes related to the car's hybrid battery system and engine management. But something about the pattern bothered him. The codes didn't match the typical failure modes he'd seen in other McLarens. This looked like something more serious, potentially dangerous. Marcus pulled up the car's service history on his tablet, cross-referencing the fault codes with known technical bulletins and recalls. What he found made his blood run cold. But what Marcus discovered in the McLaren's computer system would reveal a conspiracy that went far beyond a simple mechanical failure, one that put Sterling's life and the lives of dozens of other drivers in immediate danger. The diagnostic results painted a terrifying picture. The McLaren's hybrid battery management system had been compromised by what appeared to be a sophisticated cyber attack. Someone had hacked into the car's computer network and installed malicious code designed to cause catastrophic failure at high speed. Marcus had seen similar attacks in the cybersecurity journals he read to stay current with automotive technology trends. Luxury cars were increasingly becoming targets for cyber criminals who could access vehicle systems through cellular connections, Wi-Fi networks, or even physical tampering with diagnostic ports. But this wasn't random cybercrime. The code was too sophisticated, too specifically targeted. Someone had deliberately tried to turn Sterling's McLaren into a weapon. Marcus's hands trembled slightly as he documented his findings. This was far beyond a mechanical repair. This was a murder attempt, disguised as a car malfunction. The malicious code was designed to disable the car's safety systems during acceleration, potentially causing a crash that would look like driver error or mechanical failure. He needed to call the police, the FBI, maybe even Homeland Security. But first, he had to make sure Sterling understood the gravity of what had been discovered. Marcus walked back to where Sterling was pacing beside his Mercedes, still making phone calls. When Sterling saw him approaching, he ended his call abruptly. "Well?" Sterling demanded. "What's wrong with it? And don't give me some excuse about needing to order parts from Germany." "Mr. Sterling," Marcus said carefully, "I need you to sit down. What I'm about to tell you is going to be difficult to hear." Sterling's impatience was evident. "Just tell me what's wrong and how much it's going to cost." "Your car has been hacked," Marcus said simply. "Someone installed malicious software designed to cause a fatal crash." Sterling stared at him for a long moment, then laughed dismissively. "That's ridiculous. Cars don't get hacked. This is probably just some sensor malfunction that you're trying to turn into a big payday." Marcus had expected skepticism, but Sterling's dismissive attitude stung. "Mr. Sterling, I'm not trying to upsell you anything. I'm trying to save your life. Someone wanted you dead." "You're out of your mind," Sterling snapped. "Get me someone who actually knows what they're talking about." "I am someone who knows what I'm talking about," Marcus replied, his patience finally wearing thin. "I have degrees in mechanical engineering and computer science. I've spent years studying automotive cybersecurity. I know exactly what I'm looking at." Sterling's expression changed slightly. "You have engineering degrees?" "Georgia Tech," Marcus confirmed. "Summa cum laude. And I've published research on automotive network security." For the first time since arriving at the shop, Sterling seemed to actually see Marcus as something other than just a mechanic. "Show me," he said quietly. Marcus led Sterling back to the McLaren and pulled up the diagnostic data on his tablet. He explained the fault codes, the unusual patterns, and the sophisticated nature of the attack. As he spoke, Sterling's face grew increasingly pale. "This code here," Marcus pointed to a section of malicious programming, "is designed to disable your stability control and anti-lock braking systems the moment you exceed 70 miles per hour. At the same time, it would cause your engine to surge to maximum power." Sterling was now paying complete attention. "That would kill you," Marcus finished. "Almost certainly. And it would look like you lost control of the car at high speed. The investigation would probably conclude it was driver error." Sterling sank into a nearby chair, the full implications hitting him. Who would do this? And how? Marcus had been thinking about that same question. "Mr. Sterling, your company handles data analytics for major corporations. Have you been working on anything sensitive lately? Anything that might make you a target?" Sterling's face went even paler. "Jesus Christ," he whispered. "The pharmaceutical investigation." "What pharmaceutical investigation?" "My company was hired by the FDA to analyze data patterns in drug trial results. We uncovered evidence that Meridian Pharmaceuticals has been falsifying safety data for their new arthritis medication. The drug causes heart problems, but they've been covering it up." Marcus felt pieces of a puzzle clicking into place. "How many people know about your findings?" "Just me and 2 senior analysts. We were supposed to present our results to the FDA next week." Sterling looked up at Marcus with growing horror. "If I had died in a car crash, Your investigation dies with you, Marcus concluded. And Meridian's drug gets approved, potentially killing thousands of people. Sterling pulled out his phone with shaking hands. I need to call the FBI. This is attempted murder. Mr. Sterling, Marcus said gently, there's something else you need to know. What? The hack didn't just target your car. If they're willing to kill you to stop your investigation, they might try other methods. You're not safe. As if summoned by Marcus's words, the sound of squealing tires echoed from the street outside. Through the shop's windows, they could see a black SUV with tinted windows pulling into the parking lot. Sterling looked at Marcus with panic in his eyes. What do we do? Marcus's mind raced. The shop had a back exit that led to an alley, but Sterling's Mercedes was blocked in by other vehicles. The only way out was through the front, past whoever was in that SUV. Stay calm, Marcus said. Act normal, but be ready to move. The SUV's doors opened, and 3 men in dark suits stepped out. They moved with the purposeful coordination of professionals, scanning the area before approaching the shop's entrance. Marcus grabbed Sterling's arm. Back room. Now. They hurried toward Tom Davidson's office as the front door chimed, announcing the arrival of the 3 men. Marcus could hear Tom greeting them, asking how he could help. We're looking for Richard Sterling, one of the men said. We understand his car is being serviced here. Marcus quietly closed the office door and pointed Sterling toward the back exit. Go out that door, turn left and keep going until you reach the main street. Call 911 and tell them everything. What about you? Sterling whispered. I'm going to stall them and make sure they don't follow you. Sterling hesitated. I owe you an apology, and probably my life. Apologize later, Marcus said. Right now, just run. Sterling slipped out the back door as Marcus heard footsteps approaching the office. He quickly sat at Tom's computer and pulled up the McLaren's diagnostic data, making sure all the evidence was properly documented and backed up to the cloud. The office door opened, and one of the men entered. He was tall, muscular, with the kind of calm demeanor that suggested extensive training. Where's Sterling? The man asked. Who's asking? Marcus replied, trying to keep his voice steady. Someone who needs to speak with him urgently. He left about 10 minutes ago, Marcus lied. Said he had a meeting to get to. The man studied Marcus's face, clearly trying to determine if he was telling the truth. What's wrong with his car? Electrical problems, Marcus said vaguely. Could take a few days to fix. What kind of electrical problem? Marcus realized he was walking a tightrope. If he revealed what he'd discovered, these men would know that Sterling was aware of the assassination attempt. But if he was too vague, they might become suspicious. Computer glitches, Marcus said finally. The diagnostic system is showing fault codes that don't make sense. Probably just a software bug. The man's expression relaxed slightly. If Marcus didn't understand what he'd found, then Sterling probably didn't either. We'll wait for him to come back, the man said. Could be a while, Marcus replied. He seemed pretty frustrated with the delay. The sound of sirens in the distance made everyone freeze. The man's hand moved instinctively toward his jacket, where Marcus caught a glimpse of a shoulder holster. Sounds like an accident nearby, Marcus said casually, though his heart was pounding. The sirens grew louder, then stopped right outside the shop. The man's radio crackled to life. Federal agents are surrounding the building, a voice reported. We need to move now. The man looked at Marcus with new understanding. You called them. I called them, Marcus confirmed, his voice stronger now. And they know everything about Meridian Pharmaceuticals, the hacked cars, and your assassination attempt. The man reached for his weapon, but the shop's front door exploded open as FBI agents swarmed inside. Federal agents. Nobody moved. Final rehook. Because sometimes the person you underestimate based on their appearance is the one who ends up saving not just your life, but the lives of thousands of others who would have suffered from a deadly conspiracy. The next few hours passed in a blur of federal agents, crime scene technicians, and investigators. Marcus found himself at the center of an investigation that would eventually expose one of the largest pharmaceutical conspiracies in U.S. history. The 3 men in suits were arrested and quickly identified as professional assassins hired by Meridian Pharmaceuticals. Further investigation revealed that Marcus's McLaren wasn't the first. Two other researchers investigating the company had died in accidental car crashes over the past 6 months. Richard Sterling, shaken but alive, returned to the shop with FBI protection. He found Marcus still working on documenting every detail of the cyber attack, ensuring that the evidence would be thorough enough to prosecute not just the assassins, but the pharmaceutical executives who had hired them.
Marcus, Sterling said, approaching with obvious discomfort.
I owe you more than an apology. I owe you my life. Marcus looked up from his computer. You don't owe me anything, Mr. Sterling. I was just doing my job. No, Sterling said firmly. You went far beyond your job. And I treated you terribly. I made assumptions based on ignorance and prejudice. Marcus set down his tools and faced Sterling directly. Mr. Sterling, I appreciate that. But I want you to understand something. This isn't just about me. Every day people make assumptions about what I can or can't do based on how I look. Usually the stakes aren't life or death, but the principle is the same. Sterling nodded, clearly uncomfortable but listening. I have 2 engineering degrees, multiple certifications, and years of experience, Marcus continued. But none of that mattered to you until your life was on the line. How many other people do you think you've underestimated because they don't look like what you expect an expert to look like? The question hung in the air between them. Sterling had no easy answer because there wasn't one. You're right, Sterling said finally, and I want to do better. I want to make this right. Over the following weeks, Sterling proved that his words weren't empty. His testimony helped convict the Meridian executives and their hired killers. The arthritis drug was permanently banned, preventing thousands of deaths. But Sterling also took more personal action. He established a scholarship fund for minority students pursuing engineering degrees, with a special focus on automotive technology. He partnered with historically black colleges and universities to create internship programs at his company, and he made sure that Marcus's role in exposing the conspiracy was recognized publicly. Marcus was invited to speak at conferences about automotive cybersecurity, his expertise finally getting the recognition it deserved. Several luxury car manufacturers reached out to him about consulting contracts. Georgia Tech offered him a teaching position. But perhaps the most meaningful recognition came from an unexpected source. Tom Davidson decided to make Marcus a partner in the shop, recognizing that his expertise was what had built their reputation for excellence. You know, Tom said as they watched Marcus's new business cards being delivered, I always knew you were the best mechanic I'd ever seen, but I never fully understood how much more you were until this whole thing happened. Marcus smiled. I'm still the same person I was before, Tom. I just finally got the chance to show what I was really capable of. The shop continued to thrive, but with a new culture of respect and recognition for expertise regardless of appearance. Marcus hired and mentored other young technicians, particularly those from underrepresented backgrounds, ensuring they received the support and opportunities he'd had to fight for. Richard Sterling became a regular customer, bringing not just his own cars, but recommending the shop to his wealthy friends. But more importantly, he had learned to listen to expertise wherever he found it, and to question his own assumptions about who could or couldn't possess knowledge. The McLaren 720S, after having its computer systems completely rebuilt and secured, ran better than ever. But every time Sterling drove it, he was reminded of the lesson he'd learned in a small auto shop in Atlanta, that prejudice doesn't just hurt the people you underestimate, it can blind you to the very help you need to survive. Marcus continued his work with the same dedication and expertise he'd always brought to every job, but now he did it with the knowledge that his worth had finally been recognized, not just by customers who needed his help, but by a society that was slowly learning to see past appearances to the person underneath. In the end, the story wasn't really about cars or conspiracies, or even assassination attempts. It was about the danger of assumptions, the value of expertise, and the importance of judging people by their character and capabilities rather than their appearance. Marcus Johnson had always been an exceptional mechanic and engineer. The only thing that changed was that the world finally started to see it. And sometimes, that recognition comes just in time to save lives.